Hi there, my name is Deepak Sharma, and I'm the founder of Volition Academy. And we are a transformational life coaching and mentoring company specifically working with college-bound teens to prepare them to take ownership of their life by creating unshakable confidence within them so that they can develop a plan to be able to create their extraordinary life. And if you're the parent of a teen, you're probably asking yourself this question: is my teen really ready for college? Are they ready for their future on campus? And the reality is we've got to answer this question because it's the flip of a coin at this point. If you look at the stats, 45% of high school students are stating that they don't feel prepared for college. They don't feel prepared for their future. And so when we look at the preparation process for kids today, it's not really changed much as far as what happened 10 years, 20, 30, even 40 years ago. So the process went something like this, and you probably experienced it similarly to what I did, which is around the junior year of high school, you're asked by your guidance counselor or you're asked by your parents to start thinking about what it is that you want to be or do. And the reality is you stop and you start to think, okay, what does that look like? And you've never done anything like that before. And because you've never done anything like that, you don't even know where to start. Because you don't know where to start, you actually never do. And so what happens is you get to college. And in college, you're waiting for this moment where you take a course and that course gives you some insight, or you're just waiting for this aha moment where you're thinking, this is what it is. This is what's going to give me passion and purpose in my life. But that moment never comes. Now you're at the end of your sophomore year and you've got to declare a major, and you have no further insight than when you were 17 years old as a junior in high school. But you've got to choose something, and so you do. And in that moment, you choose something, but then you start to second guess it, and you start to realize that maybe it's not the thing that you needed to choose. And so what you look at today across the US, the landscape, 6.2 years is what the average time it takes to graduate from college. It's no longer 4 years. 4 years is actually only 19% of college graduates today. So what happens is most kids are switching between majors. What makes this even worse is that when they get to 6.2 years and they graduate, there's a statistic that shows that 45% of college graduates are actually unhappy with the major that they've selected. So now where they're going to spend 80% of their time in their career, they're actually going to be unhappy doing this thing that they've chosen to do. Meanwhile, they spend an extra $20,000 to $50,000 by spending 2 extra years on campus, but they haven't actually even gotten a result. And so now they're stuck paying student loans, or ultimately that came out of your pocket potentially. But now they're in a life that they are ultimately unhappy with. And so what's happened is they've significantly degraded their quality of life. They're unhappy, if we're being true in what has actually happened because of this process in their life. And this can be detrimental to them mentally and emotionally and negatively impact their entire life. And so this was my story. And ultimately, I didn't have the support in high school. I didn't have the support in college. I was full of self-doubt. I was looking for guidance. I was looking for support. I was looking for leadership to help me make the decisions that were going to ultimately allow me to create the life that I would love to live. And ultimately, without having that support, I second-guessed every decision. And I felt like every decision was actually going to lead me down the wrong path. It filled me full of stress. It filled me full of anxiety. It filled me to a place where I was just overwhelmed with making these decisions. And what does that do? Well, it leads you to try to find an answer. And what most college students will do is they'll find their solutions in other coping mechanisms that are readily available, like alcohol and drugs, which is what I did. And ultimately it didn't solve my problem, but it ultimately helped with stress management and anxiety management. What happened after graduation was I ended up 7 years later after graduation in a job that I hated. And in that job, thought to myself, is this really what life is like? Is this what I was doing all of this work for in my education to get to this point, to make a paycheck doing something that I'm miserable doing? In that place of darkness, in that place of despair, I actually got to the dark moment where I actually contemplated and took action to try to take my own life. And thank God that didn't pan out. But ultimately, that's how dark things can get, by not having the right support, the right guidance. And this is why I created Volition Academy, to provide support to teens, to not only prevent them from getting to that dark place, but actually create the extraordinary life that they're looking to create, and providing them that guidance and support. So what we do is we stop and we don't ask this question around what you want to do before we start looking at who they are at their core, and ultimately what they're capable of creating. And as we work to create unshakable confidence within them, helping them understand what their limitless capability looks like, only then do we then start to not look at how to make a living, but how to make a life. And then once they design their life From there, we then have them integrate that into a career that actually is in alignment with everything that they want to create to be able to create their extraordinary life. And then we work on an action plan that we allow them to work with us on to help them coach and guide them to be able to create their reality. And we have found that this process generates extraordinary results as they generate their extraordinary life. And so if you're interested in learning more, I'd love to talk to you. You can book a discovery call below. It's free, it's complimentary, and we'd love to speak with you around how we can support your family, how we can support your child in understanding what it is that they need to be able to create their extraordinary life. And so thank you for listening, and I hope to speak to you real soon. Thank you.